to the Conception Channel podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Conception Channel podcast, brought to you by the Being Fertile program and Instill Reproductive Wellness. I am your host, Spence, Pentland, and today I'm super excited to be here with Karen. Right?
Yep, whatever.
Canadian American.
Yeah.
We've been trying to connect for a little while, and I'm super glad that we finally have. Schedules are just tough as I get it, but she's here today to help us understand the journey of infertility in maybe a little bit of a unique way today, and I'm excited. We'll give you her details, about her website, etc., because I'm sure after listening today, you're going to want to jump in and get to know Karen a little bit more. But Karen is a fourth grade teacher living just outside New York City. Mm-hmm. And she is a successful blogpreneur. And we'll get into exactly a little bit more of that. But welcome to the show, Karen.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that we were able to make this work.
Yes, awesome. Me too. So in honor of the tradition of the podcast thus far, we start with a guest story. So yours kind of is two-pronged, and you said you could probably mince those together somehow. But anyway, so yeah, you have had your journey through infertility as well.
I have, yes. I had no idea that I had what people call PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Right. I had no idea. I didn't even know what that was. And my husband and I were trying to get pregnant, and I wasn't getting my cycles. Like, nothing was happening. And so in my, mind, thinking back to like 7th grade biology, I was like, well, if you don't get your period and you're having unprotected sex, like, automatically you're pregnant, right? And that was just not the case, because and I'm sure so many people know this feeling, but like, pregnancy test after pregnancy test was coming back negative. So after a while, we went to go see my gynecologist, and my gynecologist ran some tests and started me on Clomid. And then a few months later, nothing was happening on the Clomid, and she called the phone, which, like, nowadays I'm like, I think that violates like a number of like privacy laws, but whatever. But she's like, I think that you have something called PCOS, and I want you to see a reproductive endocrinologist. And I didn't even know what that acronym stood for. So of course I Googled it, and I just lost my mind. I was hysterical. I was a mess. I almost took my computer and like threw it across my apartment at the time. Because every word I just saw was infertile, infertility, can't have kids, trouble getting pregnant. So that was like the crushing blow that I'm sure lots of people experience when they get a diagnosis like that, whether it's an actual diagnosis or if it's unexplained infertility or whatever it is. So then we started going through the motions, and we started going to NYU Fertility Clinic in New York City, which is a wonderful clinic. I'd highly recommend them. And and they started doing all the tests, and my doctor explained to me what PCOS is, and he was very confident. He's like, it's gonna work. Like, we're gonna get you pregnant. It's gonna be fine. So I did all the tests, the HCG and all that stuff, and I had my first IUI, and it failed. I was devastated, absolutely devastated. Then the next month, my second IUI worked, and which is shocking, because I don't know that many people who actually get pregnant on IUIs. Statistically, you probably know the stats better than I do, but regardless, so that was our first daughter, Zoe, who's now 5, and a little precocious little 5-year-old. But so then I was always very vocal about being infertile. I never thought that it was something that you should hide or not talk about, because in my opinion, like, if you get diagnosed with any other medical condition, you talk about it. You talk about it with your friends and your family, and they help you through it, and they ask you how your appointments are. So I didn't see this as any different. And that's when I started realizing that, like, people don't talk about it. And all of a sudden, all these people that I work with or friends with, like, started coming out of the woodwork, like, oh, well, that happened to me, or, oh, I had a miscarriage, or this, that, and the other. And I'm like, how come I never knew? Like, why didn't we talk about it? So I thought that was weird, but whatever. Had my first kid, A couple years later, went back to have my second, and we started with the same amount of Clomid that I was on to conceive my first, and nothing happened. Didn't even ovulate. So
were there cycles in between, or did you kind of flip straight back into?
I went straight into like I went
ovulation.
pretty much straight from from being on birth control to straight to fertility clinic, because really there's no point for me to try to try to conceive on my own. It's kind of like a pointless activity. I mean, it's super fun, but it's not gonna
say that. That's great.
Yeah, it's not gonna end in a baby. So so we went, and my doctor said, he's like, you just come straight in. So so we went straight back to Clomid, and nothing happened even on the same amount that I had conceived my first daughter on. So then we stepped it up, and I was on more Clomid, and we did that run of Clomid, and then 4 other IUIs after that. And every single one was negative, and every single one, like, it makes you into a psycho, like, I remember being like, I'm feeling all these things, and like, it's nothing. It's all like your mind playing tricks on you. And, and like, I don't know about anyone else. I talk about this a lot on my social media, but like, Clomid makes me like a maniac, like not emotionally. Not emotionally, but like, I eat like I'm Andre the Giant, like on Clomid. Like, I cannot stop eating anything, and it's disgusting, and I can't even stop. So we had awesome 5 rounds of that, and then that didn't work, and so finally, after the 4th failed IUI, I said to my husband, I was like, I think we're gonna have to go forward with IVF, and he was totally on board. Okay. So we went forward with IVF. It was a crazy time of year because it was December, which is just a crazy holiday for everyone. I mean, it's a crazy month for everyone. Yeah. I also have like 40 parent-teacher conferences that I have to do in December. So like, it was just like really, really, really super hectic. And we went through IVF, and I had 33 follicles, which turned into 17 day 5 blastocysts. We put 1 in, and that's my second daughter, Abby. So it took on the first try, on the first transfer. Wow. Which is pretty incredible, because I know also that's not the most common. And that's
an amazing response as well to day 5.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a huge number. I mean, I was in so much pain after the retrieval, when they took out those 33. Like, I went to work the next day, and I tell everyone, I'm like, don't go to work the next day. It's a bad idea.
Did you do a fresh transfer? Did they freeze?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
No, it was a fresh transfer. Yeah, it was, 5 days later we put, and I didn't even know if we could, because I was like bordering on over hyperstimulation. Yeah. And I was really, really scary that I wasn't going to be able to. And like, looking back on it, of course, in hindsight, with like rose-colored glasses, you're like, oh, but like, it would have been just another month. But when you're in it for that long, and my story is not even that long. Like, I know women who have been in this for 18 months, 3 years, and like, when you say another month, like, it's just crushing, Right. So no, we were actually, like, my stuff calmed itself down and got a hold of itself, and I was able to then go in for the fresh transfer 5 days later. So, and that was my second daughter, Abby.
All girls.
Yeah. Yeah, 2 girls. I know. So then, I went through my pregnancy, which is also ironic that with both of my daughters, I was pregnant for 41 weeks for both of them, which is kind of crazy, because it's like, I can't get pregnant on my own. But once I am pregnant, I'm pregnant for as long as you're actually like medically allowed to be pregnant for. Like, they're like rushing me to the hospital because I'm pregnant for too long.
Making up for lost time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, of course, I'm like overachieving on the back end. So then I was on maternity leave with Abby, and I was helping out like a friend of mine and another family member through their infertility struggles. And I was telling my husband one night, and I was like, well, so-and-so's follicles are at 17 millimeters, so she's probably going to have her IUI on Sunday, and da-da-da-da-da, and like, so-and-so's ovulating this week, so we'll see what happens there. And my husband was like, first of all, like, this is weird that you're telling me about all this stuff. Like, I don't even know everyone's menstrual cycle. Yeah. And he's like, but second of all, he's like, you should write a book. And like, you've got so much knowledge, and And which I'm like, I don't really have that much knowledge, but he's like, you are helping these people through, and like you should do like a self-help book or something like that. And so I was like, huh. And so I just started, like, during nap times and stuff, I just started writing. Yeah. And at first I didn't even know what it was. And I sent it to one of my girlfriends, and I was like, what is this? And she's like, I don't know what it is, but it's really funny, and you have to keep going.
Awesome.
And I was like, but is it a book or is it a blog or what? And she's like, it doesn't matter right now. Just keep writing. So I just kept writing, and it was actually for me very cathartic to like go back to those moments, even, you know, the sad parts, and to really think of how I was feeling and to be able to explain my story. Because I mean, there were some parts that even my husband was like, wow, I didn't even know that you felt like that. And I'm like, yeah, because that's what women do. Like, we shove it down and we go throughout the day and we cope and take care of everyone else. And it's, you know, it's really hard.
Right.
So then, of course, in my naivete, like, I didn't realize that you have to like be a celebrity or like be sleeping with someone and publishing in order to get published. Because I was like, I'm just going to go and like contact some literary agents, and they're going to be like, this is great. And it's such a out of the box thought, and you're going to get a book deal, and I'm never going to have to go back to teaching, even though I love teaching. And I just had no idea. I literally had no idea. So I just started emailing literary agents, and a lot of people didn't respond, and some people did. And the people who did respond, their one thing that they kept saying was, we just don't believe that it's a large enough market.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And to me, that just like fueled my fire. Like, I was like, oh, like, I'll show you, because it is such a large market, and it is like one of the fastest growing, not market, but, you know, populations in the United States. Sure. And I know that for me, like, a lot of my followers are from all over the world.
Right.
And it is I mean, if you even check the stats like the CDC, like, it's a huge market. And I was no, but that's the problem, that you don't think it's a large market because no one's talking about it.
Right.
And definitely no one is laughing about it, for sure, if they are talking about it.
Yeah.
So that was when I was like, so that's when I was like, I have to do something. And then one of my friends said, you should have a website and you should have social media. Mm-hmm. And before this, I'm not kidding, I didn't even have a personal Facebook page.
Right. Okay.
Like, I was so anti social media because I'm a school teacher.
Yes,
and I didn't,
exactly.
And like, my kids have actually said, like, we Googled you. And I'm like, no, please don't tell me that you saw anything about like a funny joke. Like, this is so embarrassing.
Uh-huh. What grade is it? Fourth, right? Yeah.
Fourth grade. Yeah. So they're 10, and like, they definitely Google you, like 100%. And so I was just really, really nervous, and like, I didn't even understand like the whole hashtag thing. And little by little, we just got it rolling, and then it just kind of started snowballing. And then people started seeing my humor in it. And then I started getting these emails from women like in South Africa and in Australia and in, I mean, literally every continent except for Antarctica. And they were like, you know, all I did was cry. And then I found your page, and now I'm crying because I'm laughing so hard. And like, now when I go to the clinic, now I'm going to see it from your point of view. And like, now I can't stop laughing when I'm at the clinic, and people now think I'm a weirdo, you know, and things like that.
So you gave women a tool. You gave women a new tool. Yeah,
exactly. Awesome. Just my, you know, immature sense of humor. Really. Just apparently it's a big hit. So yeah.
Awesome. So can you tell people a little bit more in detail about your website and about where they can find you and what kind of things that you have to offer?
Yes, absolutely. So my website is called hilariouslyinfertile.com. And on the website are some articles that I've written for different sites like Fit Pregnancy and EIVF and things like that, and a local one around here in Westchester, New York. And then there also are some of my book chapters to my book. Nice. I'm also, which is good, and they're free and anyone can read them. I do get a lot of times people ask like, what happens, because there's a big chunk of chapters that are not there. Right. And this is actually a great platform to explain why, because I always end up doing it like individually. Like, people are like, email me, and I'm like, they're not there for a reason. But but there's a big gap for chapters 6, 7, and 8, and that's because most of those chapters talk about like the craziness, also hilarious, but just the craziness and all those feelings that go along with that. So I left those out, not because I don't think that, like, not to condescend and not to, because I don't think people can handle it. I know that women can handle it. It's not like one of those things where like you don't want to invite someone to a baby shower because you're like, they can't handle it. Like, women can handle anything. I just don't have it on there because I want to stay on message, and my message is like helping people laugh through infertility, and like hearing about, you know, my hemorrhoids after pregnancy, you know, after giving birth is, while hilarious, like not necessarily on message.
Yeah.
So those book chapters aren't there, but then like later on when I go back for my second daughter, like all that stuff is there in an abridged form. And hopefully this summer we'll have a product, like a book that I'm going to be self-publishing. So that will be, I don't know how long it takes once you like decide which self-publisher to go with, but we're going to be doing that really soon. So, and hopefully merchandise too, because a lot of my followers want merchandise. So, but it's a lot because I also have a full-time job.
Yeah,
so it's hard.
No
but
kidding.
But yeah, and then my social media platforms, I am on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and it's all hilariously infertile if you search that. Okay. And again, it's just funny memes to get people to laugh a little bit throughout their day if they're sitting there at the clinic waiting, you know, just a little pick me up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that's okay. So for people that are on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, which that covers the planet, right. Or your blog, they can kind of subscribe and
yep.
you know, you post things fairly regularly that kind of will uplift or kind of enable people to giggle at themselves or their journey, which is hard but super important, right?
I think so. I really do. I mean, I know that it's not lost on me that my infertility story is relatively easy in like the infertility world. I never suffered from a miscarriage, and I, you know, some of the other horrible things that a lot of my followers have been through, I haven't. And so it is a little bit easier for me to see it from a more humorous side because of that. Right. But I am still nonetheless infertile, and I just want to help people who are having a hard time, a harder time than me or whatever, to laugh a little bit and to be like, wow, like this really is ridiculous, you know, and like, right. or wow, like that really helped me when I was in there and, you know, in so much pain or whatever. So that's what I'm trying to do. So yeah.
Awesome. You take common scenarios that women are going through either with polycystic ovary syndrome or you know, trying to take that and self-administer that first shot in an IVF or, you know, these kinds of scenarios, or going maybe for acupuncture for the first time or whatever it might be. And you spin it in a way that is not just positive, but, you know, taking the sting out of things, and then, you know, hopefully there's humor in it. I mean, so, you know, I've always looked at the reproductive world, you know, and the reproductive medical field for the most part, and it doesn't matter how you cut it. It seems that making a baby involves different methods of getting poked. You know, it's either needles or sexually or acupuncture, or there's something about that. That's the only joke I have. But
yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know,
I mean, constantly.
How if there are any people who are you know, friends or family or maybe even healthcare professionals watching this, there probably won't be many. It'll mostly be women, I suspect, that will go to your website or you know, follow you on social media, which is great. And I'm pretty sure it's just take it from there. But if there are, you know, support systems out there, you know, how it is a delicate subject. You know, how can someone like myself or say, you know, Jane's sister try to infuse, humor into what's going on. Is that appropriate? Is that, I mean, maybe you're the wrong one to ask. I don't know.
I don't know. That's a really good question. I mean, I've had a lot of people be like, what do I not say? Or what should I say? And things like that. And I don't think it's about what to say or what not to say. Yes, it's about what not to say. But like, I don't think it's necessarily about I think it's about just listening.
Right.
I think it's about just listening to whoever's going through it and just being there for them. And like, I think my number one thing that I always say is just being like, how can I help you?
Right.
Like, how can I help you today? Like, do I need to walk your dog? Like, will that make you better? Like, how can I help? How can I support you? Because like really the person who's going through that infertility has to go through it. Right. They have to go through that, if that's what they've chosen to do. So all that everyone else can do is make like the rest of their life easier.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I actually wrote an article, I think for EIVF, that's like, it's not necessarily the fertility treatments that's unmanageable or unbearable. It's life on top of the fertility treatments. It's like the fact that this happened, and the fact that I had like a screaming, 10-year-olds, and the fact that I got stuck in traffic for 2.5 hours trying back from the New York City or whatever, even like a red light that like is going to make you late. Like it can, like that stress on top of the already, like if all you had to do was go to the fertility clinic and come home, it would be bearable.
Doable.
You know what I mean? Doable. Like you could probably handle it. But like anything else on top of that, whether if it's secondary infertility and you have kids that you're trying to take care of, or your husband, or family drama, or your job and bosses not being sensitive, like all that stuff is the stuff that makes it, in my opinion, totally unbearable. And if your infertility journey is like so hard, then it's just that's what I think makes it really, really hard. It's just life and managing that, Like if all I had to do is give myself some shots and go down to the city, I'd be like, ooh, like, I could plan everything around it, but you can't. Like you have to also live your life.
Yeah.
So I think the one thing, and in terms of like, do you add humor in or not, I would say that's something that like you would have to kind of tiptoe around, engage individually, I've seen so many things. We post about this a lot on my social media, like saying things like, well, it's okay because my kids are maniacs. Like that's not, like that's not the type of humor that you want to put in. You can be like, but we talk a lot on my social media about like the transvaginal ultrasound wand and like, just how it looks like it should be fun. Right. But like it is not fun, So we talk about that a lot and like and things like that that people who are going through it like that, you can relate with, or like the suppositories, which like is just like landslide of a mess and things like that just that people don't understand. And if you understand those little nuances, then like those little things, you'd be like, yeah, oh my gosh, like yes, it was the worst, but I would say that's like an individual thing that you might have to like gauge. And maybe even a day by day thing, like maybe you can joke around with one person one day and then the next day you're like, oh,
hour to hour, maybe even.
Exactly. Yeah. Shot to shot.
Okay, that's great advice. And so the bottom line there, I think, is anyone like myself, it's like, oh, you should check out this woman named Karen. That's the best. That's the best idea.
Actually,
right.
That would be a great piece of advice. And I've actually once someone messaged me on Twitter, and I messaged them back, but they didn't write me back. But they were like, you're so funny and you've really helped me through some dark times. And I was like, oh my goodness. And they're like, actually, my clinic recommends their patients to follow you. And I was like, cool. Oh, what, like, what clinic? Like, I would love to reach out to that clinic and say thank you offer my support in any other way. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good tool too. Like, listen, I found this one person who's funny and infertile, because there's not many funny infertile people out there. Like I'm like,
Right. Yeah. It's for sure. I will do my part to try and get some fertility clinics too. Because I mean, I've heard the stories of the fertility waiting room, the IVF center, the waiting room. It's usually pretty quiet and heads are down, but every once in a while there's this shiny star, whether they're sometimes funny or that super social woman or that gets everyone talking and everyone loves it, you know, and it seems to, there may be one or two that kind of duck out to the bathroom or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think women want dialogue, you know, more than they want to go through this, you know, on their own. So I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that 100% women, and I didn't have, I mean, like I said, I didn't have social media when I was going through this. Like I just had myself and my husband and like one or two coworkers who I knew had been through IVF. Like I didn't have anyone else to talk to about it, who really knew. Like I had a lot of people to talk to about it, but didn't like know. Right. But I think that that's huge. I think that women just want to be connected and feel like they're not alone. And I totally agree. Those fertility clinic waiting rooms, I make a joke that it's like Fight Club. Like the first rule of the fertility clinic is you do not talk in the fertility clinic or about the fertility clinic. Like it's crazy because it's so weird. Meanwhile, I'm like, I thought I was going to make friends. My first day, I thought I was going to make friends. Like I was like, hey, I'm going to go meet some other infertiles. Like we're going to bond. And then I got there and everyone was like,
Who is this lady?
Yeah, I was like, wait, so we don't even smile at each other? Like we're not even allowed to smile? And then I like tried like a little side smile, and I was like, okay, I guess that's not allowed either.
It's a tough crowd. So good for you. It's a tough time. People are paralyzed, you know, within this emotionally, and for you to try to crack a code, you know, to try to open, because if I could boil down what I try to do in my clinical practice for women that are having difficulty getting to their goal of achieving pregnancy and baby, is trying to open these people. And I think, you know, there's nothing better than humor. You know, if you can handle that, there's no better medicine, you know, and maybe if you can't handle it, that's, something to be reflected on as well, because you know, in the toughest times, if we could, you know, laugh at ourselves, it's probably would be one of the best ways to get through a really difficult point. Yeah. That and gratitude. But, you know, maybe because I'm a guy and because I've treated a lot of guys as well with male factor, something I learned right off the cuff, you know, you're talking anything to do with penis or balls or sperm, or it's got to have at least a seed of humor, because you know, and so there's a ton of material there, and any man would welcome that for the most part, you know. You know, so I would I would love if you have anything surrounding that or something. Maybe we could co-write something, because for sure I've written some tips for your stud, and it's usually for women, you know, to you know, to hand over to their men, and it's a really basic kind of humorous way to, I should ejaculate every few days, you know, and I shouldn't let my balls get too hot. I should, like, just throwing it out there, keeping it real. And so the male side I get, but this female side, you're definitely a probably sometimes a martyr, and at other times, you know, a pioneer, you know. And thank you. And that's so great. Okay. Yeah, So I was just say, my one piece of advice for any male going through it is just bring your own porn. Yeah, bring your own porn. Okay, bring your own porn. Yeah, I think that's so huge. You know, I wonder if some clinics recommend that. Yeah, I mean, my husband used to go, he's going to kill me right now because saying this, but he used to go with his iPad, and he used to bring his own iPad. And I'd be like, why? And then and it was actually like for us, like kind of eye-opening, because I was like, does theirs have that you want that they don't have, or vice versa? And so then I was like, oh, so you like this? Like, I didn't know. Like, I don't know. I didn't know prior to that what type of porn he had. And most couples probably wouldn't really want to have that conversation, but I was like, let's do it. Like, I need to know, you know? Yeah. So, and if that's going to make your count better, then I want to know. Yeah, so, totally. Yeah, totally. I mean, I wonder, I mean, it would be interesting research to see what types of, if certain types of porn correlated with certain ejaculate volumes and counts and motility. Or
I think it does, because I think if you don't have what I mean, I don't know, I'm not a guy, but I would imagine if you don't have something that really turns you on, and especially just the whole giving your donation for a guy, I think is so awkward for them anyway, and that's also not really spoken about that much. But how somewhat emasculating and awful that is, and I think that if you could do something that makes you feel better and that you like more, then I think that you should do that. I think that's 100% what you want to be doing. And if they don't have what you like, then bring your own.
Yeah, that's good. You reminded me of a fellow named Greg Wolf. I should try and get him on the podcast. He wrote a book a number of years ago called "Making Love to a Plastic Cup." And so the flip side. So yes. you guys should talk.
Yes, we definitely should.
Yeah, awesome. Well, okay. So any last thoughts or ideas that you have for women, or couples even, going through? Besides, obviously, we're gonna put all these links, to your social and everything in the show notes. So check them out below and just follow her. So follow Karen, so you get notifications, daily. And if you don't want to laugh at it that day, then use it to get some frustration out or swipe it up. But I mean, when it is there, I'm sure it'll be really helpful. But is there any last words that maybe will help someone in a tough time? Or
I think the one thing that I think is really important is that a lot of times I think people, and this is so mind-boggling to me, but I've had women be like, I didn't know if I emailed you, if you would respond, or if I DM'd you, if you would respond. And I try really, really hard to respond to every single email, every single direct message. And that part is so important to me. And people are like, wow. But someone one time was like, I think you're like a celebrity. I'm like, I am so far from that. Like, I'm just a regular school teacher going to work and coming home. And then this is kind of my little side thing. And I'm just happy to help anyone. So if anyone out there wants to chat or wants to email or has any questions, I'm literally always here. And that's like what I do until I fall asleep at night. And my husband yells at me, he's like, get off your phone. And I'm like falling asleep and texting people back. But I think it's really important to know that you're not alone, and there's an entire community, and either through Hilariously Infertile or there's a number of other social media sites out there as well that are bringing women together and talking about things, and I think it's really great. So, or you can just email me, and I could be your venting board, which is totally fine too.
Awesome. Well, that's great. It's crazy good how you are accepting that dialogue with people, because it's
it's important.
It is. I mean, it makes you and what you do far more tangible, and I just think the mark and the legacy you'll leave will be far greater because of it. So thank you.
Oh,
it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So please send me the your Facebooks exactly, and we'll get those in your Instagram and Twitter, and we'll get those up. Hilariously Infertile. It's Karen. Yes. We are so happy that you made it on the show today, and thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Take care, Karen.